Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great Wednesday wherever you are. It's Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. So that only means one thing. It's the latest episode of First and Ted with me and Ted Hazelrig from Ted Talks Ball YouTube channel. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about as the Niners get ready for the Jaguars, but I figure before we get into the actual topic that I wanted to start with, just want to see how you doing, how Ted is doing.
I can't complain. I got to pick my son up from preschool this morning, and this time I finally made it for story time. So that was nice. And then we got home and ran our remote control cars for a little bit. We went out last night to run, and it was dark. And I was like, we can't run the fast ones in the dark. So we ran sort of his old one. He's like, Dad, this one's so slow and sad now, because
that's awesome.
We're running ones that are supposed to be like 14-year-old plus, and this guy, my little guy, is just about to turn 4. So it's a little advanced. He hit me with it today. It was a little painful in the heel. Hit himself in the ankle, a little painful, but we're both alive and no major injuries. So that's
it's
good.
funny that he says that. I was a pretty communicative youngster myself. My mom would try to make me shop for clothes, and she'd be like, "How does this look?" And I'd be like, "Mom, actually, this looks way better. It matches, doesn't it?" And my mom was like, "What?" So I think it's cool that he's like, "Dad, these are slow and sad." That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's like a smart kid.
Yeah, he's pretty. We think he's pretty advanced, but everybody says that, so you never know. I don't know. He's definitely cute, that's for sure.
That's awesome.
Took after mom in the looks department, luckily. So
sorry about that. Yeah. as long as he turns out to be a big kick-ass athlete like you, then we'll be okay. But
there we go.
No, I had a bunch of topics lined up, but as the news dropped about 4:00, I tried to take a nap, lay down for the stream.
Yeah.
And couldn't, I was up the whole time. But one of the things that dropped was that Steve Wilks will be down on the sideline during the game. It's kind of big. To me, it's big news. It's a big deal. The Niners are struggling, and they were struggling going into the bye, especially on defense. Say what you want about Brock and his late game struggles and stuff, but the defense really has been the core of the issues. I personally have been a little bit indifferent about the move. I thought it was, whatever. But it's definitely something, and we're definitely going through something with the Niners that it's important enough for Kyle to be like, "Hey, I think you're better off down here with the players. Let's give this a try." We've been struggling. And so it's to me, it's a serious situation. Not serious as in like someone's going to get fired, but it's definitely cause for pause. So what's your take on it?
Yeah, no. For me, I'm kind of, I'm not gonna say pissed, but I sort of thought Wilk should have stuck to his guns. I've been saying all along, there's plenty of DCs who call games from the booth, including Vic Fangio, who a lot of us wanted, and a lot of us want now that Wilks is struggling. People wish we had gotten Vic Fangio instead. Another really notable, successful defensive coordinator who coaches from the booth is Dan Quinn of the Cowboys. They have a pretty good defense last time I checked. So it can be done. And everybody wants this rah-rah DC. We all miss Robert Saleh. Well, we didn't miss Saleh so much because D'Amico Ryans was rah-rah and got maybe as good or better results as Robert Saleh. So we didn't really miss them, but they were both rah-rah. And so we missed that rah-rah DC on the sideline. But like if you watch Wilks in the booth, like even in the booth, he's not rah-rah. Like everybody's jumping up and down after a great defensive play, and he's just like stoic, waiting for the next play. It almost like it's almost worse than having him in the booth is having him on the sideline like that, where he's like sucking the joy out of the situation. And maybe he'll be better around everybody. Maybe I'm wrong, but I was firmly in the camp of no need to go down to the sideline and no need to fire him yet. I did kind of get out on Twitter and say, like, as long as we have Isaiah Oliver, then you can't really hold Steve Wilks too accountable, except for a lot of people, were kind enough to remind me that, Isaiah Oliver is Wilkes' guy, including our buddy Ryan from No Border Sports. There are a few others who had said it, and he piled on. I'm like, oh, thanks, Ryan. Thanks, buddy, for piling on the timeline. But, I gave him some grief yesterday when we did our show. But anyway, yeah, I mean, hopefully it works. I've been sitting here this whole time trying to think of who the OC was who was up in the booth, and he went down to the sideline over the weekend and had great results. And so maybe that was part of the impetus. Was like, well, that guy did it. Maybe you better try it, Steve, too. Do you know who I'm talking about? I'm totally blanking.
No, I know who you're talking about. I just can't think of the OC who it was. He definitely got.
It was a game I watched.
They called him to the principal's office. We're like, yeah, you're going to the sideline, dude.
Yeah. So maybe it was. I don't know. I'm blanking on it. Because it was Chiefs and Dolphins, so it wasn't that game. And then it was Ravens and Seahawks, and I barely watched any of that game.
Was it the Steelers?
Eagles. Yeah, Steelers. I think that's what it was. It was the Steelers. Yeah, it was Canada. Matt Canada. Exactly. Thank you. Went down, and the Steelers won, and they played pretty well on offense too, if I'm not mistaken. So I forget who they played, probably against a zero opponent. I'll look it up while we're talking here. But anyway, so maybe the Matt Canada thing applied a little extra pressure. Maybe it was going to happen anyway. But my guess is that that's what it was. They're like, look, Steve, Matt Canada did it, and he did well, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. So if it works, then great. I'm happy to eat my words and say I was wrong. But prior to this, I've been saying so it's the Titans, the tanking Titans. And it's not just that it's the Titans. It's also, Will Levis. He had that big game the week before, but he's a rookie. He regressed. He looked more like a rookie in that game. And it was close, 20-16. It's not like they ran away with it or anything. But the one thing I like to see was Najee Harris was doing better. I believe in him as a running back. I believe a lot of their issues on the Steelers offense has nothing to do with the coordinator, has nothing to do with the quarterback, has nothing to do with the weapons. It has a lot to do with that Steelers offensive line. And people a lot of times just discount the importance of offensive line. That might be a good segue.
Yeah. Hold on. Before we do that, I want to say hi to the chat.
Yeah, they're going crazy.
We have Brian Culp in the chat. He says, "What's up, Aaron and Ted?"
We're going to collab on Friday morning, 8 a.m.
Nice. So Randy Daytona says, "I'm here for the takes." Boom. One of my favorite people on the entire planet, Laura Cat. She says, "Hola, Aaron and Ted." Hola.
She's great.
Small Town Reviews, my man. He does beer reviews and drinks and other recreational things on his channel. I'll put it that way. So thanks for coming through. He's very, very. I watch his stuff and I don't smoke or drink, so tells you how I like his channel. Frank Tom Ocean is in here.
A skunk or something in here? I don't know. Smells like a skunk all of a sudden in here.
Oh, that sucks. Frank Tom Ocean.
I'm joking. It was like a thing with
skunky weed.
Yeah.
TNA. Yes, those. There'll definitely not be any of that in the on screen, but maybe definitely. Danielle Thompson, she says, "What's up, family?"
What's up, Danielle?
Jason Niners Smash Massey. He says, "Talofa
Faithful." That's what he says every time. Niner Faithful Radio. So welcome, Jason.
Danielle says, "Hey, boo."
Hey, Danielle.
We got Tej Beats in here. He says, "You're Niners."
There we go.
Who else we got in here? Got Paul Randolph in here. Yeah. He said, "This is my first time on this podcast. How is everybody doing?" Doing pretty well. Just discussing the movement of Steve Wilkes down to the sideline from the booth and what that means.
Better now that you're here, Paul. Hopefully we'll give you a reason to come back.
Coming through.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll come back in the future.
Frank Tom Ocean was giving me the answer that I couldn't think of.
But I just want to say thank you to everybody. Brent Smith is in the house. Where is he? Is that the real Wayne Breezy? Moody won't miss
the Wayne Breezy. Yeah.
Thank you for coming through. Appreciate it.
He's made me famous in his video.
Oh, yeah. You were in the background. 49ers Chanel, he says, "What's up, Faithful? I appreciate you coming through." And like I
he
said,
even got
Brad
one of
Smith,
me flexing. Thank God he didn't get the one of me dancing. I'm sure he's just holding it
did
for.
see a head bob from you a little bit, like
I'm sure he's holding it for ransom. So for a prime moment when he needs leverage in a key moment, I'm sure he'll apply pressure with like, "Hey, don't make me leak that dance footage."
Right. Now you said you wanted to segue to offensive line. We could talk.
I
Let's
just thought
talk.
that was a
It's
good
not one of my
segue.
topics, but we could talk about it.
Well, it's kind of a big news from
It
today.
is a huge deal. We got so the Niners could be without Trent Williams and Aaron Banks.
Yeah.
This coming week, and that's super huge, man. Like that's what do they call it? 2/5 of the offensive line.
But it's
the
49ers.
49ers.
Biggest. It's way more than that.
Yeah,
it's
they're
like
the two best players on the offensive line, right?
Yeah.
You could say Aaron Banks and Trent Williams are the two best players on our offensive line.
With Aaron Banks, you don't worry about it too much because you got Feliciano. He filled in well the last time. Banks missed a little bit of time earlier this season. So, theoretically, he should be able to fill in. Oh, he goes, Dwayne says he's got the dancing clip ready and loaded.
You better not piss him off or say
I'm
anything.
I'm going to have to be on my best behavior with Breezy.
Have to be on your best behavior. Sorry, I had to go there.
I'll be faithful to the Babe, Breezy. I promise. I promise. Such a great song. That was a lot of fun that day. Got to meet Terradome that day. I got to meet Mose. The best part was when I had Gina on, and I'm like, "Oh, hey." I was like, "Hey, I met Wise at the shoot." Like the Wise song, and Wise like, "I wasn't there," and then everybody started giving me grief, like, "Oh, was it Wise 2.0? Was it somebody impersonating Wise?" And then I went back and I looked at the picture. I'm like, "That's Mose." I'm like, "Oh, I'm such a dummy, and that's so cliche, Anyway, I have apologized to Mose and Wise about it, but if you guys are watching, here it goes again. Sorry about that. Because the funny part is Wise has this huge shoe collection, and he shoots from his closet, and he's just surrounded by stacks, like floor to ceiling shoes, sneaks.
I thought about doing that with all the hats I have, and just have like a wall of hats behind me.
Yeah, you should.
The problem with that is there's cats in this house, so I'd have to make sure every time half the hats weren't on the ground or upside down.
Come and play with them.
Yeah, like, what's this? Something to mess with.
Yeah.
Let me drag this to the litter box.
So the best was when Mose was there, he had some nice sneaks on. I'm like, "Oh, did you have trouble figuring out what sneaks to wear today?" And he's like, "No," like just deadpan. I was like, "Oh, okay." Oh, I thought I was trying to be funny, and like again, It just proved clueless, utterly clueless.
You gotta read the room, man. You gotta read the room.
Just wrong guy. I mean, what are you gonna do? So it was pretty funny, pretty pathetic, but. There you go. It happens. I own it. It's like, I'm not going to hide.
Dude, I was at a bar one time, and there was a guy that I thought was a childhood friend, and I asked him straight up, I'm like, "Hi, is your name Josh?" And he looks at me and he goes, "No." And I'm like, "Sorry." I swore it was him. Totally off. Like in my mind,
like, get a better pickup line, bro.
Yeah, he was probably like, "Get away from me, weirdo." The women do definitely say that to me, like, "Get away from me, weirdo." But yeah, as far as the offensive line goes, Breezy said in the chat, it evened it out. Now everybody sucks on the offensive line if they both are missing. Shoot. And with our running game being as bad as it's been going into this game in Jacksonville, the running game needs to be on point, man. Like the offense has just been so imbalanced, and we're taking a guy that hadn't had any real adversity up until that point, and he's had a lot of adversity, especially late in games, with the fact that the Niners have just not been able to run the ball. And young quarterbacks get exposed. There's a lot of people that were waiting on Purdy's, to drop the ball, so to speak. And a lot of it has to do with the offensive line. Pass protection has been bad. Run blocking has been bad.
Can't run. Can't stop the run.
Yeah, we'll get to the defense in a second. We have a new member of the 49ers defense that I want to talk to you about. I haven't talked to you since it happened. But yeah, it's definitely going to be something of concern to watch. I don't know how you fix it. I don't know if you just run the ball anyways and just hope to get some yards. Like, how do you fix losing your two best guys on the offensive line with a team that's reeling offensively especially when it comes to the running game. It's going to be something to watch.
Wayne says it's fixed with Debo back there in the comments.
Right. I mean, Debo is definitely a huge part of it, and I think Debo will definitely make everything better, but we just got to keep it 100%. Like, he is a injury prone guy sometimes, and I don't want to overuse him as soon as he comes back. Like, here we go. We're going to give you a bunch of carries and a bunch of targets and beat your ass up again. So
maybe Elijah Mitchell will finally round back into form, because he sure hasn't looked like himself yet this season at all.
Right.
I haven't seen one run that looked like him.
Right. And it's funny, when we were winning all those games and we were talking about, Kyle's got to do better with usage, and Kyle's got to do this, and Kyle's got to do that. And a lot of the arguments you get from the fans is, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now that it's broke and things have broken a little bit, now everybody's like, hey, we should run the ball and maybe mix in other guys. It's like, like I said, I got subtweeted by somebody during the 5-game winning streak because I was seeing some of these flaws, right, in the team, in the offense and the defense. And people are like, oh, people just got to find stuff to be negative about and just enjoy the ride. I'm like, I am enjoying the ride. I'm just saying, you can see things sometimes coming that could affect the team in a negative way, even when you're winning. Winning cures a lot of stuff, but stuff is still there. And like that, now that we're losing games, now everybody's like, yeah, we gotta get better in pass protection and run blocking. And God, I had Trent Williams needs to come back. And then if you talk about the defense, it's like, oh, the run defense has been bad. The pass rush has been non-existent. I said that already. Like I said that like 6-8 weeks ago while we were winning. So, but it's funny. Some people are super open and like super negative, and people get on them for that. And then there's the people that are super positive that never want to hear anything negative, even when it's constructive criticism and the team needs to hear about it. So we'll see, man. This is a big game. It's a huge game. Huge.
Huge.
Before we talk about, I was going to say we could talk about Purdy and what he needs to do, but let's talk about the giant elephant in the room that happened last week at the trade deadline with about an hour and 15 minutes to go. I think it was about quarter to 3 where I was. Trade deadline was at 4 p.m. The acquisition of Chase Young for a compensatory pick that we originally got from the Commanders in their hiring of
Martin Mayhew.
Chase Young added to the defensive line. We talked about this during the offseason. I talked about this with Raj during the offseason. I said I didn't think we had enough on the edge. A lot of people said, Aaron, you're crazy. We have plenty with Drake Jackson and Clellan Ferrell. And I was like, I don't have confidence in a bunch of dudes and a late second round pick who hasn't really proven anything. And sure enough, we play the season, and the defensive line has been a super massive disappointment as far as, rush. Question for you: does the acquisition of Chase Young move the needle for you as far as the defense? And can it be a turning point and something that will maybe spur us on in the second half?
Only if Isaiah Oliver improves or gets benched. Isaiah Oliver or sometimes we move Lenore over to nickel and put in Ambry Thomas. Neither one of them are worth anything, but especially Isaiah Oliver has been extremely disappointing. So I think
he's been really bad.
Womack or Luter are going to have to step up here. But yeah, I mean, it helps the D-line, it helps pass rush, it helps run defense. Chase Young does, I should say. So, the OSU reunion, it's exciting to see him back with Nick Bosa again. And, a lot of Commanders fans were saying that he only plays for stats. I'm like, well, when there's no wins to play for, what else do you play for besides stats? I mean, so I'm not too worried about him doing that here. I think that he will contribute to the team, and I think Kasarik will round him into shape, and I think he'll be a big help.
I really, I'm one of those people that is not an eternal optimist. I'm more of a negative individual. I'm like you. We have to get Oliver off the field at all costs. He's bad. He's really bad. Like people are like, oh, break it down why he's so bad. He's just bad. He's too slow in coverage. He's great against the run. because he's a bigger body and he could take the abuse, when coming up and checking people in the run. But as far as pass secondary, being a defender in the secondary, he's too slow in the small intermediate areas of the field. And it's too bad you can't take different parts of other players and kind of mix them into like a super player, take his size and mix it in with maybe Womack's speed or Lenore's speed. But fact of the matter is he has been the weakest link. I'm sure you could say that about Charvarius Ward too, but I think a lot of the 49er problems in the secondary, other than Isaiah Oliver, have been with the fact that we just don't get any pressure. There's no pressure ever. And then, you intermix the fact that we're running a lot of zone and there's wide open areas on the field. If you're going to run zone and you're not getting any pressure, you're essentially playing pitch and catch. That's what it is. You just wait for a guy to clear a zone and you hit him. You wait for a guy to clear another zone, you hit him. Nobody's speeding up the play. Nobody's speeding it up. We get in there against the Bengals and we have a bunch of guys draped on the quarterback and he gets away and it's an 11-second play. And of course he's going to find a wide open wide receiver for a first down. It's just, I don't know. Injuries, travel, players look tired. Doesn't matter what it is. The fact of the matter is this second half of the season that needs to happen, and it needs to happen this Sunday. And hopefully we get a little bit of a taste of what's to come with Chase Young. I really hope he plays well. He's, there's talk that he's more of a raw player still and that he needs to develop a lot of his pass rush moves. He's the type of player that depends on his athletic ability. So, I mean, if there's any player you can learn the nuances and the intricacies of the position would be Nick Bosa. So we'll see, man. We got, a half a season with him. There's talk like people want to know if the Niners could sign him in the offseason. I don't know how they do that with the Brandon Ayuk contract coming up. I mean, Ayuk right now isn't exactly playing like a guy who wants to get a second contract. So there's a lot of moving parts with this team. I really am just caring about the right now, and hopefully they can turn it on defense. I know we're talking about Chase Young, but I'm really hoping that they can activate either Luter or Womack or both and tell Isaiah Oliver to, kick rocks, so to speak. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, no, I think one of those two or both need to step up, or else we should have traded for a corner, one or the other. And so we didn't trade for a corner, so there must be a belief that one of those two or both can solve our problems there. Or they just think that Isaiah Oliver will improve, but I just don't see that happening.
Welcome to the show, Nancy Cameron. She says, hi, Ted and Aaron. Loving the banter. I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Thanks for coming through. I saw this from Bryant, and I automatically thought of Guy Fieri when he says, right here, right now, on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. So thank you thank you for that. Do you want to pay the bills real quick for your particular brand as we're here talking?
Sure. I mean, if you don't mind me doing a quick commercial, I would love
don't worry about it.
Talk about TTG, the Travelstead Group. They're a retail and hospitality logistics company. So they help with transportation and warehousing for brick and mortar. They do FFE, which is fixed furniture and equipment. They do OSE, which is operating supplies and equipment. New store openings, rollouts, relocations, decommissions. From the first mile to the final mile and everywhere in between, Travelstead has you covered. Let them know how they can help you via air, ocean, or land. They do closed loop solutions for retail and hospitality. Nick and Henry are the go-to guys there. Great fellas. They have 100% US-based support. These are complex operations, so there's always fine-tuning at the very least that needs to be done. It's nice to know you're not going to end up in some call center overseas where they have no clue what you do. These guys get you. The website is in the description for the show and my YouTube about page and my Twitter bio, Insta and Facebook too. If you follow me there, click on it, check out the video, and make sure you tell them Ted sent you. And I appreciate it. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you everybody for helping me to pay the bills. TTB brought to you by TTG.
And if you don't know, what is that? Yes, I'm down with TTG. Yeah, you know me.
Randy used to do that a lot. We'll see if he whips it out today.
You say whips it out? Pause.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Hey now.
Don't ask him for his prediction on the game.
Oh, why? Does he think the Niners are going to poop the bed?
He does. And he thought we'd poop the bed against the Browns, Vikings, and Bengals. So he was 3-0.
Wow, he's 3-0, baby.
3-0 on our 0-3. So,
I felt that the Browns loss really stuck in my craw. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's one game," and I'm like, "Yeah, but the way we lost, you know." And then, of course, the Viking game happened, and then I was really kind of stressing. Right now, I honestly don't know how to feel about this team. This team's at a little bit of a crossroad. A lot of people, if you talk about the Buffalo Bills right now, they think the Buffalo Bills window might be closing. Just based on how they've been playing this year. And,
they had so many injuries, they
right. And they've lost games against good teams. And, we've kind of shown that I can't say we've lost games against. I mean, the Cowboys are a good team and we beat the living crap out of them. So it's weird with the Niners. It's kind of tough to give an accurate assessment of what exactly this team is. The two things you could say about this team is that Brock Purdy is going through a tough patch right now that a lot of us thought he would. And the defense hasn't been there to kind of cover it up for him. So, I said in the offseason that there was going to be a point in time where Brock was going to look like the 7th round last pick in the draft. Like he just was. It's just going to happen. If it happens to the greatest of all time, it's going to happen to Brock. And sure enough, he looks good for 3/4 of the game. And then all of a sudden he starts to press and he looks not that great. And I'm a big Brock Purdy guy. I advocated for him after the trade. I've been really staunch about people still talking about Trey Lance when he's been gone for months. It's like, let it go, using it for cheap clicks or cheap pops. I saw a Facebook post where people were like, let's trade to get him back. And then other people were like, yeah, let's do it. And it's just like, oh my God. Like he's not even active in Dallas. He's not going to help us, please. But this team has me in a weird sort of place right now. I'm definitely not super, super positive about them. But at the same time, I feel like they have enough talent and enough good coaching to figure it out. So hopefully they do. Panama Queen has joined the chat. She says, Aaron and Ted, thank you so much, Panama Queen. We got 49er Minded in here. My dog, Bash.
Sure.
What's going on? We have David McNiner, Stone Cold David McNew, rocking those cool glasses the other night in our live stream. So welcome, man. Welcome. Yeah. Let's talk about just what's going to take to get Brock Purdy back on track.
Yeah, real quick before we do that, Randy Daytona said maybe Boombox Guy can come out with some AC/DC for once, or Van Halen Hot for Teacher. There's a great riff in that. But then Panama Queen joining us makes me think Panama is another great
Panama
Van Halen guitar riff. Eddie Van Halen, one of the best to ever do it. So that might be a good walkout song too.
If we're going to come out with a walkout song, there should only be one song. And that's Enter Sandman from Metallica.
There you go. Another great one. Bay Area roots too. So
sleep with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight. Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you say pause?
Yeah.
That could go way another way. Yeah, let me not say that. We have Jess in here from East Coast Red and Gold Podcast. She says, what's up, everyone? Jess. Hello, Jess. How are you?
Hello.
Peter Lee says it's time for Shanny to realize he can put his trust on Trent's injury and health. Can't put his trust in. He has to begin to think about grooming a future left tackle eventually. You know what, Peter? Great point. I know you kind of jumped over to Brock Purdy, but let's go back to that for a second. When I heard that he says he wants to play the length of his contract and all this, that, and the other, and I'm just like, I love Trent Williams to death, but he's never able to make it through a season without getting injured. And it's usually the same type of injuries, lower leg injuries.
High ankle sprain, which
Yeah.
which low ankle sprain is supposed to be 1 to 2 weeks, maybe 3. It's been 3 weeks. So was it really a low ankle sprain or was it a high ankle sprain? And they lied to us.
Liar. I'm really concerned about this just this team as far as how they prioritize things when they draft. And it's like offensive tackle has not been a priority for the last couple of years, and it's pretty scary considering that like Trent Williams every year misses at least 3 to 5 games over a span of the season that we could really use them, and it's usually for the same type of injury. So
Frank
nothing's going to happen. Go ahead.
Is a Swiftie. He says, "Walk out with a Taylor Swift song, shake it off." Like, what? I mean, I get the point. Like, shake it off.
No,
winning. I get the point, but that's why I started laughing. I had to let you know I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at Bryant. No Swifties in Ninerland. Let's save that for the Chiefs and Travis Kelce.
I'm gonna punch you in your face. Yeah, yeah. Punch you in your face. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Did I tell you that my wife and I saw that movie on our anniversary, the Taylor Swift movie? 3-hour movie.
Oh my God.
Long.
That bad, huh?
And I actually don't mind Taylor Swift, but I would just say you could skip the last hour or at least the last 45 minutes and you wouldn't miss a damn thing.
I mean, she's cute. She's kind of tall though.
She's like 6'1".
Yeah,
so she needs a tall dude like Travis Kelce.
I'm about 6'3", and like that's. I mean, I dated a girl that was about that tall. It's, I don't know, man. To each his own.
Yeah,
I mean,
you need
pretty enough to get away with
6'4", 6'5" to pull that off well.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. If they had kids, they're going to be like massive human beings.
Oh yeah.
Anna McQueen made a good point about a 35-year-old body taking longer. I mean, I have a bad knee and I'm 44, and it's never going to go away. So I can imagine an athlete. What is your take on that though? The fact that they just didn't seem to address it this offseason or the season before, and now in a lot of ways they have to pretty much address it somehow, some way in the upcoming draft. They have to get an offensive tackle. They have to get a corner. There's need for corner too. Like, you think the Niners sometimes draft and run things as if they've won, and they can take picks and make experiments out of them, because sometimes I get a feeling like the 49ers are like a little too loosey-goosey with some of these picks that they've inherited, and they don't really are serious about filling holes on the team or making moves that'll shore up things in the future. It's just like, oh, let's try another running back in the third round. It's like, no, why don't you go over an offensive tackle? A massive need on your team. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we all wanted an offensive tackle. Bash wanted Dawan Jones. He's done well for the Browns. Hard to argue. I mean, he kind of neutralized Nick Bosa. Basically, the only sack that Nick got against Cleveland was when Dawan Jones shifted to an outside guy, thinking that the center Posick was going to shift with him to Bosa, and Bosa came unblocked. So, definitely not the run blocker we would want at right tackle, but is McKivitz. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like he can learn that. Maybe not the athleticism part of it, but the technique at least. So yeah, and maybe move up. We talked about moving up for a tackle, but no, didn't happen. We talked about drafting a center. That hasn't happened. And eventually it's going to catch up with us. It seems like maybe it is right about now.
Well, a lot of people blame the lack of picks and the lack of the fact that we're missing those players on the picks that we gave up to draft Trey Lance, and now he's not even on the team. High first round picks he could trade to go get an offensive tackle or get it a Micah Parsons to come in and be across from a guy like Nick Bosa. What really gets to me is the fact that they they let DeForest Buckner go. They kept Eric Armstead, and then they actually went and they drafted position for position. And right there in that draft, they could have had Tristan Wirfs right there.
Yeah.
Eventually, you could have both of them be bookend tackles, right? And then what does he do? He moves over to the left side when Trent retires. I mean, that doesn't get any better. But the 49ers decided to go player for player, which I think is a big mistake when you draft. Drafting to replace somebody is always bad because it's like people are like, oh, it's okay. We're just going to draft high in the draft. We'll get somebody. It doesn't always work like that. And as you know, I'm not a Kinlaw guy. I think he's a bombastic big mouth who sucks and doesn't produce. And Niners are left holding their what's with that pick because they've gotten nothing from it. And the fact that they decided to make the Trey Lance move and then nothing ever came of it, they could have had an offensive tackle. They could have had a corner. They could have had some things addressed. If you look at the 49ers, offensive line and secondary are two of their biggest weaknesses, and both of those could have been addressed in prior drafts with first-round picks. So people think like picks are just whatever, and like the draft is just whatever, because the Rams built their team through free agency. If you want long-lasting longevity in a window to win, you got to hit on draft picks. And the Niners have late, but they could have used some, top tier, top 100 draft talent to help with that. So we'll see what it does and how it affects them going forward in this season and what they do in the offseason. I got one of my gaming buddies in here. He says, there's my strong arm paper boy, Aaron. Hey, what's up? He always tells me that I would look good in a KC hat. He knows how much I hate the Chiefs. Brian Culp says picks don't matter. Okay. Well, see, there's that. There's that
Third
side
round
of it.
picks don't matter when everyone fell except for Fred. And maybe Moody, Brian. I'll say maybe Moody.
I don't know if it's who's okay, it's on my side. Thank you for the $5 super from Paul Randolph. He says, anybody good coming out of college worthy of us using a second or third round pick on to replace Trent Williams? Not really sure about the draft so far.
There's some good tackles, but they're almost never there by the end of the first round. So
I think what's going to happen with the Niners, or at least what I think, and thank you very much again, Paul Randolph, for the $5 super. The Niners are going to have to. That's why I'm glad that they didn't make the move for the corner. The Niners are going to have to make a move with these mid-round picks that they have and find a way to get into, say, the back half of the first round. I'm talking like pick 17 through 25. You know what I mean? Where you can get essentially a guy that might have dropped based on whatever, but he's still worthy of a top selection, like an offensive tackle who maybe fell out of the top 20 for, I don't know, some infraction, or maybe he had an injury or something, and the Niners can go and grab him. The Niners are going to need to figure out a way to get up into the back half of the first round and go get themselves an offensive tackle. And then think about this, Ted. If you're the 49ers and a team comes at you with a trade offer and they give you multiple, picks for a guy like Brandon Ayuk, and then in turn you can go jump up into the top half of the draft and maybe get a wide receiver and or tackle or one or the other, would you do it?
Yeah. We need picks. We do. We need a cheaper option at wide receiver. I don't think we're looking to let Debo go anytime soon. And Ayuk, I feel like he racks up the big yards against the bad defenses, but when push comes to shove, Debo's my guy for the tough
I don't
yards.
always feel like Ayuk is engaged in certain games, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Emotionally. I like Brandon Ayuk a lot, but I don't know if he's worth a huge contract. In fact, I don't think he is. I said in the early part of the season, he's a legit number one. I take that back. He's not. He's a legit number 2 receiver. He's really good. He'll get you yards, like you said. He'll get you catches, but I don't know if you could depend on him. He's disappeared in a lot of games. People are like, oh, he's been bracketed. He's been this. He's been that. all the best get all those things, and they always found ways to get open. So yeah, I know we're talking about the offseason, but it's definitely something to think about because the Niners can't keep everybody, and it has been brought up in a lot of conversations what they do with Brandon Ayuk. Do they keep him? Do they trade him? Only way you trade for a guy like Ayuk is if you make sure that you're drafting a wide receiver that can duplicate his production. Like you have to be that dead set on it. So,
but you said not to do that just a minute ago.
I know, but I'm talking about a no doubt pick. I'm not talking about a guy like, I am going back to what I'm saying, but like sometimes there's no doubt picks in the draft that for a fact are going to be great. You know what I mean? Like Nick Bosa was a no doubter.
Yeah.
A lot of, Peyton Manning was a no doubter. I'm trying to think of other players, but like, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we still got the season left. Brian Culp says BA will get his wish, or the offense runs through Debo, not BA. I totally agree. I think the offense when Debo's in it is completely different than when he's not. So,
I've been saying that for a long time.
Let's talk about something that happened last week that I haven't talked to you about yet, and that's the John Lynch role. He got a new role within the front office, and essentially what they did is they added president to his existing duties. If I'm Ted and I'm thinking to myself, what does this mean for the 49ers? What do you think it means? Is this a precursor to a guy like Adam Peters becoming the new GM of the 49ers down the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think when Parag Marathe was, tasked to work with Leeds United over in the UK, the soccer team, the writing was on the wall that he couldn't be full-time in Santa Clara and do that. And so for a long time, we've been talking about Lynch being moved to president and Peters being moved to GM. So don't be surprised if 2024 or at the latest 2025, Adam Peters becomes the GM. I would say 2024, realistically, at the end of the season.
I'm been really, really high on Adam Peters and Ron Carthon, and I was really disappointed that he left in the offseason. But Adam Peters, to me, is the most important person in the building, more than John Lynch. I think John Lynch is essentially a figurehead, a mouthpiece. He is the
shaking
guy
hands and kissing babies.
He's the master politician. He says all the right things. He's a good looking older guy. He's in shape. He looks good in a suit. Pause. He's got really weird ears though. Have you ever seen Lynch's ears?
No.
They look like something out of The Legend of Zelda. It's pretty crazy. Coming from a guy who's got a big honker and some big flappers myself, I was like, man, he's got some ugly ass ears. So, yeah, I really think that the 49ers, if they're smart as a franchise, very soon add a little bit more money into the pocket of Adam Peters and to keep him here. You look at this roster, you look at these draft picks that we hit late in the draft. Brock Purdy comes to mind. Just guys that we get that, the Kittles, the Greenlaws,
Lenore, Hufanga.
Yeah, all these late round guys that are starters on the San Francisco 49ers. I think a guy like him is more important than you realize it. A lot of people are like, oh, we could just replace him. You can't just replace everybody. I mean, look at the 49ers during the era of the Super Bowls and who they had up in their draft rooms, like the McVays and all these other people. Carmen Policy was in the building. Eventually, all those people retired and people left. And as we remember, the 49ers were pretty bad from about 2002 till about 2011. And they were just not talented. They just were bad at drafting. I mean, you name it, they screwed it up. You look at a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, through the course of their history, they've always had an ability to draft really, really well. and that will propel any team to always be in the conversation to be, a team that's around in January and February. So I hope this is what we think it is, and it means that he's going to be sticking around. John Lynch says he's not leaving until we get a Super Bowl. The way things are going right now this year, that might have to wait another year. I don't know, man. We'll see. I mean, the Niners, if they're going to make a Super Bowl this year, they really need to clean things up, and they need to be able to beat a team like Philly or Kansas City, which I think, if ever, it's possible. I feel like Kansas City's beatable. I don't know if we can beat them, but they're beatable. Philly, their defense has got a lot of injuries, and you can pass all over them. The problem with the 49ers is their weakness is the strength of the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have the best defensive line in the NFL, and the Niners have a middling to low tier offensive line. So,
and that's with Trent Williams healthy.
Right. That's with Trent Williams. Like, the Niners have essentially two guys on the offensive line that are good, and the rest of them are very replaceable.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's concerning. And I mean, we talked about number 1 seed. We talked about Super Bowl. Now we're just talking playoffs. Talking playoffs.
We got to win a game. Carmen Policy, mob boss. Dude, it's funny. I was talking to my mom about Eddie DeBartolo and Carmen Policy back in the day. The 49ers were very much like a mob family. DeBartolo's always waiting when the players are coming off the field to give them hugs and kisses and stuff. And it very much got a vibe back then of an Italian crime family, like a mob family.
Oh, well, they were.
There's two different kisses. There's the kiss of like love, and then there's the kiss of death. We're about to trade your ass, the Charles
I'll take
Haley
you out on the rowboat on Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, and drop an anchor off the, tie an anchor to your foot and drop it off the side of the boat. Laura Katz says John Lynch is quite handsome in person. I bet he is. That's why I said it. I know I'm comfortable in my own sexuality to admit that he's easy on the eyes.
Also, while you're in the chats, I don't know. I don't recognize Bethany Ricks, but she's up there a little bit higher up. I don't know if you know her, but thought I'd call her out. Says maybe a new member of the chat.
I feel like I've seen Bethany Ricks before, but it's been a while.
Okay.
How high is she?
A few above there, 5 or 6 above there, 7. Right above Bash. Bash is 3.
It's so high.
Green. It's a green bee icon. Right below Jim Everett, between Jim Everett the Great and Bash.
Huh.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 above where you are now.
Yes. She says, "Go 49ers. We're ready next Sunday noon. Brock Purdy will me play what? I can't understand that."
Play strong. He'll play strong. Keep one Jacksonville. Very Brock. Jacksonville one more time. I think it just some of the words got scrambled there, but I think I got it. We're beat Jacksonville one more time.
We got to beat them.
Make it 5-2.
Jim Everett the Great since that Bosa's finished. No. Bosa's not finished. I think Bosa's a dumbass and he shouldn't have held out. That's what he shouldn't have done because he looks like a guy who's out of shape football wise.
Just one more reason for the 49ers not to leave these things to the last minute like they did with him and Debo. Besides the fact that every deal that happened before, we had to pay more than that. So Frank Culps is on the Taylor Swift thing.
I don't want to talk about Taylor Swift. She's got a pretty face. I'll definitely say that. She's just a little
long legs.
She's got a weird she's got like a T-Rex body, but like a Velociraptor. I don't know. She just has an interesting. I mean, she's tall, but she. You call him Bosa underwear boy. That's pretty funny. Yeah, definitely. Touche on that one.
He said it distracted him some, so.
Well, it definitely didn't distract me. I mean, he is a nice looking guy with a nice physique, but yeah. I'm trying to think what else we got to talk about here. We pretty much banged it all out. Um, as far as topics with the 49ers. I feel like go ahead.
I mean, do you see any world where the 49ers don't make the playoffs? I mean, we've obviously been playing poorly. It's hard for me to pick 7 teams that could keep us out, right? I
I
mean,
feel like we'll win the division because the division is weak this year. Uh I feel like
Seahawks.
The Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith has played poorly recently. I feel like the Rams are I don't know. The Rams without their quarterback, they're kind of just there. Um and then Arizona, I'm sure they'll get a little bit of juice from their quarterback returning, but I just feel like the Niners should win this division. If the Niners really fall on their face in the second half, they're going to get in as a division winner. Which a lot of people are like, well, once the Niners get in, they're in. It doesn't really make it. I don't want that kind of mentality. You want the number one pick or the number one seed for a reason. The Niners are like the most injured team all the time. They travel all over the place. They have the least amount of days off, right? Another long ass playoff run where guys are dead in the NFC Championship game, and the Super Bowl is a foregone conclusion because they're done. They're gassed. The Niners did this to themselves. The Niners did this to themselves. You got players in interviews talking about, well, we're not worried, we're not panicking. Okay, all right. Panic doesn't really help you in any situation. But I don't like hearing a nonchalant attitude towards it. I mean, maybe we care more about it as fans, and maybe these guys, once they get paid, they're not as, live or die with winning and losing. But, you know, uh, windows don't last forever. I felt like this was the best chance at it this year. I felt like Kansas City was gettable. I felt like a lot of teams were gettable, and the Niners went out and laid 3 straight eggs. But the Niners secondary, Ted, looked bad early in the season. I mean, remember the game against Puka Nacua? I mean, they couldn't cover him if their life depended on it, and they couldn't get any pressure. And like I said, I got people, subtweeting or tweeting meaning something towards me, but not saying my name and pretty much saying like, oh, I'm picking on the 49ers. I'm like, no, I kind of saw some things that are a little concerning that if we go against a team with a really fantastic offensive line and quarterback, we're going to get exposed. Sure enough, it happened. So I don't know. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there have been concerns the whole season. And, I said it after week 4, we hadn't played any contenders and maybe only playoff pretenders. I still believe the Rams will not make the playoffs. I thought that all along. Steelers have a playoff record right now. I don't think it'll last. So I think I'll stand by that. Yeah, the pass defense, there were warning signs before, but part of the thing was that we would get these big leads and it would force people to be one-dimensional. And when they can run it on us, then that opens up the pass even more. So that's been a problem of late.
The run defense to me has probably been the most concerning thing out of all of it.
And the missed tackles. Yeah.
They're not getting any push. Grant Cohn went in on freaking Hargrave saying he's been a massive disappointment so far. And, and I don't agree with a lot of stuff Grant says, but I have to agree 100%. Where the hell's Hargrave been? Where's the push? Where's the staunch defensive tackle that we got from, our hated enemy? I mean,
where he gets Niners, a push and goes deep into the backfield, and it's like, oh, it's a run play, and he just missed the lane.
It's very aggravating.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Randolph, he says, when did the game get so focused on getting the bag and not wanting to be the best? It's the generation, Paul. Different, man. They didn't make money like they do back in the day, so winning was super important. They make more money now than, it's you play your heart out till you get your contract, and then it's just like whatever. I'm not saying that, guys like Fred Warner, he cares. Guys like Kittle, well, Kittle's a little interesting to me. I think he cares, but I think Kittle is looking at the second half of his life coming soon. I don't see the same kind of focus as he did back maybe even 3 years ago. Christian McCaffrey to me is a throwback, and he really gets upset after losses, and it's very, very refreshing to me. He hasn't even been a 49er his whole career, and he's already my favorite player because he gives a rat's ass about it, and he makes a lot of money too. We'll see, man. I mean, we got a guy coming from a team that sucked and wasn't really good, and Chase Young, and the Commanders have always been kind of a poverty franchise, at least for the last 30 some odd years or so. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes into this and how he is dedicated to winning. I mean, because he's looking to get paid if he has a really good second half. So you should get paid after you play. I don't know. I just think guys shouldn't. I'm glad that the NFL did what I think the NBA needs to do is they need to make players earn their first contract. Michael Jordan always says that now the game is you get paid off of potential. Whereas back in the old days when Jordan was playing, you played well, then you got paid. And I think what happens is once you get that money early, kind of takes the importance out of it. So I'm kind of glad that the league did what they did as far as like having a salary cap for rookies and stuff. First 5 years in the league, you only make this amount, and that's where it is. It's capped out. There's no adjusting it. So, I mean, teams were blowing their stack on guys like DeMarcus Russell and getting absolutely zero out of it. I mean, they went. Remember the holdout? I'll give you an example. Remember the holdout with Michael Crabtree that we had? I mean, what a joke, right?
Yeah.
When didn't he come into like week 6?
Something like that. After being, was he the 10th overall pick?
Yeah, and then he ended up being kind of like a middle of the road wide receiver. Or as Richard Sherman says, I don't know, do you call him garbage?
No, he wasn't garbage. He just didn't live up to number 10 overall. But, I mean, better than the guy who got picked in front of him, wasn't it? The Darius Hayward Bay or whoever was a Raider.
Yeah, he was pretty garbage too.
I think there was like something where they couldn't figure out who was going to be 9 and 10, and we like flipped a coin with the Raiders, and they won, and they picked the wrong guy. I mean, not that Crabtree was a great pick, but he was a lot better than, I think it was Darius Hayward Bay. I think that was the guy's name. Yeah.
Well, the Raiders have always been obsessed with speed and receivers that can run fast. God forbid they have like really checker.
The Al Davis special. Even as recently as Henry Ruggs was super fast.
You're already your own boss, and now you're rich. No one can tell what that person what to do. Yeah, that's the unfortunately athletics in America or in around the world. I mean, once you get paid, once that money's in your bank and it's guaranteed, you could retire the next day, and there's not a damn thing they could do about it. Be like, bye, I'm out of here. I just got $35 million guaranteed. See ya. I'm gonna go set my family up for life. You know what I mean?
Generational
wealth, man. If I was an athlete, I would probably only pay about 10 years, win or lose. And to me, it would be all about setting my family up for, retiring a mother or, relatives or sisters or aunts and stuff that are like older, retiring them, making sure they have money, pay their mortgage off, kind of like that. So I never would have been those people like playing 20 some odd years and then being all physically jacked up, like some of these professional wrestlers that wrestle into their 60s and then they can barely move. It's like, nah, you got to think about your quality of life. So I understand why players want to get the bag because, tomorrow you can get hurt and be done for the rest of your career, but we'll see. We'll see. Anything going on in the channel this week, Ted, as far as content that you want to talk about? I have the show with Raj tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, and then I'm kind of open. I'm hoping to do something with Bash on Saturday. I think it might be on his channel for the next couple weeks. Nice. I promised him. As long as me and Bash are both feeling minded. Yeah, me and Bash get along really well. We have the we joke more off screen. I can't really joke about half the stuff we joke about on screen, but yeah. if you get along with somebody not on YouTube, it makes for better content on YouTube. So, but what's going on with you?
Let's see here. Tomorrow I have Mike from the Man Cave. He's a Browns fan. We've been kind of doing a regular thing. I brought him on mistakenly thinking he was a Bengals fan. He is friends with a Bengals fan. I was going to try and bring the guy. It didn't work out. But we had good chemistry, so we've been trying to do a regular Thursday. I think we'll probably do 2 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Eastern, or maybe 2:30 at the latest tomorrow. And then I got Bryant Culp 8 a.m. on Friday morning, and then Bashar 3 p.m. on Friday afternoon.
I'll definitely check in. Maybe I'll take a break and go get a hot cocoa or something while I'm at work, and I'll sit on a break and watch you guys for a little bit. So
yeah, Bryant and I haven't worked together much, so this should be
Brian's
fun.
Brian's a pretty okay guy. Him and McNiner and Ty Alston. No, we don't always agree on everything, but I think both the thing with all of us is we give each other the fair shot to talk and get their points across. No judging, no nodding your head while someone's talking and being disrespectful. We don't do that in ours.
Yeah. I mean, he's huge, and I can't wait to finally get it going. It's been a while.
Paul Randolph says, you guys were awesome, and I will be back to check you guys. And thanks for the shout out. No problem, Paul. I appreciate you coming through and finding us to be somewhat, palatable to come back to. So we appreciate it very much. David McNiner says, with Trent Williams and Aaron Banks out, what are the chances of winning? That's a good question, man.
I said this morning that if Trent Williams doesn't play, that I'm fading the Niners. I said 24-21 if Trent Williams plays. If not, I'm going Jags.
I mean, I'm always going to pick the Niners just because I'm a Niners content creator and I kind of have to do it. But to me, with the Niners, it's I don't know. I don't even know how to feel about this game because to me, it's more or less like they have to come out and win this one, right?
Yeah.
They have to come out of the bye week and win a game. They have to, hell or high water, no matter what it looks like. I don't care if the game is trash and they look horrible. They have to win.
And not because of our record, because we could be 5-4 and be okay. We've been there before. We were 5-4 last year, and we were just fine. But it's a big difference if it's like win, loss, compared to 5 wins and then 4 losses stacked. That's where it starts to get depressing. But as long as you don't believe in momentum, I guess it could be okay. But I definitely believe in momentum for sure.
So Bashar's kissing Bryant's ass right now. He's saying, win by a Moody field goal. No, I'm just playing. I love you, Bash.
Also, great ones in the audience: Javier Rios and Rick. We saw Rick Edgar Dascoli also. He's joining us late.
Nice pronunciation.
I hope so. I don't know.
It's funny. I could read really well when I was a kid, but now, like when I get on YouTube and I have people watching me, I become like a guy who has like a second grade reading level. I don't know what happened to me. Laura Cass says Trevor Lawrence is a real deal. Yeah, he's a pretty fantastic young quarterback. I feel like he's finally coming into his own this year. Brian Culp says Moody will shock the world. Yeah, it could go two ways with me with Moody. If he wins the game, I'll love him. If he loses the game, we got to sign Robbie Gould. There's no middle ground with me.
And you pretty much have to shock the world to live up to the 3rd round pick. It's like anything less is sort of like, oh, we wasted a pick if he doesn't shock the world. So pressure's on, Jake. Pressure's on.
Yeah, get a little fire in your ass, Jake. Stop acting like you drank a bunch of cough medicine before you went out there. He's just like, I hope Bosa and Young make Trevor Lawrence run for his life. I do too. They need to stick his D in the dirt straight up. That's what needs to happen.
Turn the lights out on Sunshine.
Yeah, he looks like Sunshine from Remember the Titans. I just it's amazing how mentally I switched up on the Niners this year. I went from being like, man, this is a Super Bowl caliber team. I don't really see a lot of obstacles to now wondering how far they're going to fall in the seeding. And, Philly's just finding ways to win. Philly's really hurt this year, and they can be gotten, but you have to have the team in order to get them.
And
Their defensive line is stupid good. And like, even if you can get to their corners, if you can't protect, you don't have a shot.
No, and that's what I was saying earlier about it's hard to pick 7 NFC teams that could keep us out of the playoffs. I mean, you got the Eagles, you got the Cowboys, you got the Lions, you got the Seahawks. Let's say the Seahawks win the division. Still, I think we get a wild card because you got and the Saints win the division maybe, or whoever wins it in the NFC South. But the other teams, the Falcons and Bucks, don't really scare me. Like the only team that I thought could have been the 7th to keep us out of the playoffs was the Vikings, but now they have no Kirk Cousins, so I just can't see them pulling that off with Josh Dobbs or whoever their rookie is. Seems like he got hurt though in that game. I didn't really watch the game, but I saw him play for a quarter and have decent stats.
Didn't they lose Christian Kirk or not? They lost their running back. It wasn't Christian Kirk. We forgot who it was.
Well, they lost Cook. Dalvin Cook. Thank you. In the offseason, and I guess I don't know if they lost Madison. That's who.
No, they lost their starting running back out for the season.
The Vikings. So that's Madison, Alexander Madison.
Or no, it was
something Madison.
Come on, people, help us out. It's not. No, it wasn't him. It was Cam Akers. Thank you.
Oh well, he's not the starter, but he's the ex-Ram. That's right. He tore his Achilles again. He came back. He was the one who came back 6 months. It's never been done before.
And blew it again.
Achilles. I don't know if it's the same one, but I mean, you got to figure it probably is. Or maybe it's something congenital where, like, I mean, I know my dad tore his Achilles where he had a little bone spur on the back of his Achilles, on the back of his heel, I should say. And it was like gradually,
like whittling it away.
Yeah. Like a grater, like a cheese grater.
Yeah.
Just slowly grating away at the Achilles, and then it finally popped. And most people, when they pop their Achilles, like, oh man, I felt like I got shot in the back of the leg. And my dad was like, no, it didn't hurt at all, because it had been hurting the whole time when the thing was grating it. And when it finally went, it was like nothing at that point. So it's kind of interesting. So maybe he has something like that that's like a genetic thing, or like a bone spur on the back of his heel. I don't know.
It's funny. People always mess with me and make fun of me. They're like, "You're gonna what's the next thing to go on Aaron?" Let's just hope it's not my Achilles.
Oh man,
that would be absolutely brutal. Bash says Trevor Lawrence has been sacked 19 times this year. Purdy has been sacked 14 times this year. I have a feeling Bosa and Young are going to eat. I hope so, Bash. I'm finding it more and more difficult to predict what's going to happen with players in games, because I'm always wrong.
I think there's going to be a lot of sacks on Sunday, because the Jacksonville line supposedly is like the second worst rated O-line.
Yeah, but we heard that all season, and our team hasn't done anything to make people pay.
Yeah,
I'm sick of hearing those kind of.
Is a really good back, so
we'll see, man. I mean, I hope the
Christian
Niners can...
Kirk and Ridley is a hell of a guy to get off the street.
Yeah,
pretty much a wide receiver one for nothing. But
where is that statistic that bulky. I saw here? Randy Daytona says Trevor Lawrence has 46 turnovers in 3 seasons. So that's an interesting statistic to keep in mind.
Second only to Josh Allen, and he usually includes second only to Josh Allen and Derek Carr. So have had more. But like I said, he also will tell you that Mahomes is right near there at 45. And so it's not so much about the turnovers to me as it is turnovers versus wow play ratio, right? So obviously with Mahomes, he's got so many wow plays, you don't worry about it. Trevor Lawrence, not so many wow plays, but he still makes some. And he's definitely tall and fast and big arms. So
I feel like Josh Allen is like the type of quarterback, people say like Purdy the last couple games, he hasn't been able to win in the clutch. The thing with I notice when I watch Josh Allen is when Josh Allen goes up against really good competition and the pressure's at its worst or its highest, other than that Kansas City game, he tends to play pretty small. It's like all these athletic things he can do and throw the ball and move the ball, and I don't know what it is with some guys. They could be the best athlete in the world, and when it comes time to make plays in the crunch time,
part of it is he got paid and he has like one elite weapon, and that's Stephon Diggs. So he doesn't have like an Ayuk and a Kittle and a CMC. And
I feel like they have a good amount of, they have what's his name, that other receiver, Gabe Davis.
Yeah, he's decent, but he's not elite.
Interceptions. A lot of his interceptions.
Dawson Knox they've got, but he's out. And then they got some other Dawson tight end that they just drafted who was playing all right, and then he fumbled against the Bengals. Dawson, what's his name? Somebody help me.
We have to beat the Jags because I have a guy who I used to work with, an ex-coworker, little guy, talks a bunch of S, threatened many times to smack him around. He's not afraid of me. I can't have him coming up on my Facebook timeline or texting me and telling me about the Jags whooping our ass. So we got to do it just for that. I can't have him win.
Oh, and I got it wrong. It's not Dawson. It's Dawson Knox, and their backup rookie tight end is Dalton Kincaid out of Utah.
Dalton Kincaid.
Dalton, not Dawson. They got a Dalton and they got a Dawson. It's close enough, though. But he had this, they flipped him over, and you know who it was? It was Pratt, the guy who intercepted Purdy, Purdy's first interception against the Bengals. Pratt was the one who punched the ball out from Dalton Kincaid in the Bills-Bengals game. So, and somebody had been saying that Pratt was like, it was, I want to say, blank on who it was. That Larry Krueger was talking about it in the booth right before Pratt made the interception. That maybe it was
Larry Krueger in the booth.
Well, or wherever he was, where he's watching the game. Yeah, he's definitely in a press area, I think. Even though he's not traditional press.
Gotcha. Nice.
I want to say it was Vish. Vish Kumaran was the one who said, keep an eye on Jermaine Pratt. And Jermaine Pratt, anyway, that's that whole backstory.
Well, guys, I think that's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up. We had a great time here tonight. We appreciate the new people in the chat coming through and being part of the conversation. Thank you, everyone, for coming through and being part of the audience, like always, and supporting me and Ted every Wednesday. We will be back. I said I will be back. We will be back next Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. Hopefully, we're talking about a 49ers victory in Jacksonville and not the 49ers dropping to 5-4, because if that's the case, I might be really angry. So everybody take care. Have a great rest of your day. And me and Ted will see you next time.